I wasn't a class clown because that implies that I was disruptive or disrespectful.
Pat Sajak, who served as the host of the popular game show Wheel of Fortune, has been a mainstay in the American television industry for many years. Rumors have been circulating for years regarding his sudden retirement and the state of his health, but now someone who is familiar to him has stepped forward to shed light on the situation. What new information has piqued the interest of these many people? Where did Pat Sajak get the idea to step down from his role as the host of the Wheel of Fortune show? Get ready for a surprise that will blow your mind. Pat Sajak's daughter, who is now 29 years old, has finally admitted what we had long suspected: her early life. The discussions concerning the show have not been particularly abandoned, despite the fact that Pat Sajak may be looking forward to retiring and relaxing on the beach with his feet up while sipping margaritas. There have been discussions over his retirement and who would take over his role on the long-running show. However, despite the fact that discussions regarding who will be able to fill Sajak's enormous shoes are currently a hot issue, let's get back to the beginning of the process. Sajak has garnered extensive recognition for his work on Wheel of Fortune, as seen by the fact that he has been nominated for 19 Daytime Emmy Awards in the category of Outstanding Game Show Host. These nominations not only demonstrate his depth and ability as a host, but they also help to solidify his legacy. He was honored by Guinness World Records in 2019 for his longevity on the Wheel of Fortune, which is a feat that is certainly not an easy accomplishment when one considers the frequency with which shows do not survive for a long period of time in this day and age. It is a credit to his skills, consistency, durability, and his ability to consistently pull in viewers with his talents that he has been able to do it for such a long time and in such an effective manner over that time. Sajak was born in Chicago, Illinois, on October 26, 1946. He received his high school diploma from Farragut High School in 1964. Subsequently, he attended Columbia College in Chicago while working as a desk clerk at the Palmer House Hilton Hotel. It's possible that the extra letter in Sajak will throw you off, but rest assured that it was not a mistake. Sajak's surname was originally Sajdak, which is a Polish surname that indicates his family background. However, sooner or later, he altered it to Sajak so that it more accurately reflects the American pronunciation of the name. It was after he started working on television that he informally stopped using the letter D. While he was growing up on the west side of Chicago with two Polish-American parents, he did not have a very close relationship with either his father, Leonard Sajak, or his paternal grandparents. The divorce of his parents occurred when he was still a little child, and his mother, Joyce Sajak, wed Walter Backel in the year 1956. Following the passing of Sajak's father in 1961, he was unable to maintain communication with his father's side of the family. The first time Sajak became interested in the world of televised entertainment was when he was a child and he watched Jack Paar on The Tonight Show. "I would sneak out of bed at night, not to go out with the guys or grab a beer, but it was only to turn on The Tonight Show and see what Jack was up to," Sajak recounted in an interview with the Hoover Institution, a public policy think tank at Stanford University, in 2012. The interview was conducted in 2012. It is common knowledge that Sajak has had a successful career, which is not surprising given that he has had a passion for televised entertainment ever since he was a child. Now the question is, how did he get to that location? Alright, let's get into it. Beginnings of a profession. Prior to driving a vehicle, a contest that Pat Sajak won on the Dick Biondi show on WLS radio allowed him to become a guest adolescent DJ. This was the beginning of Pat Sajak's rise to prominence. While he was attending Columbia College in Chicago, his instructor in broadcasting, Al Parker, advised him that a local radio station called WEDC was looking for a newsman. After applying for the job, Sajak was recruited to work the shift that lasted from midnight till 6 in the morning. In 1968, he enlisted in the United States Army and was sent to Vietnam, where he worked as a disc jockey on the radio station of the armed forces. During his time on the Military Channels program, An Officer in a Movie, Sajak confessed to botching President Richard Nixon's 1969 Christmas broadcast to the troops. He inadvertently cut the feed off prematurely. Upon realizing the mistake, Sajak decided it was best not to resume the feed. He told the USO in a 2014 interview that he joined the army and trained as a clerk typist, eventually going to Vietnam as a finance clerk. He was eventually transferred to Saigon to be a radio DJ, serving as an early morning host for the Armed Forces Vietnam Network from October 1968 through December 1969. The role was previously held by Adrian Cronauer, whom Robin Williams portrayed in the 1987 film Good Morning Vietnam. In the early 1970s, Sajak spent a year DJing at WNBAS in Murray, Kentucky. During this period, he also began DJing at 50,000-watt WSM in Nashville, where he became the 2:30 to 5 p.m. afternoon personality. At the time, WSM was playing pop music during the day, and Sajak's charisma and talent quickly made him a fan favorite. The radio station's television sister, WSM-TV, now known as WSMV, soon brought Sajak on screen, first as a voiceover artist, creating station identifications and anchoring the 5-minute newscasts during NBC's Today Show. He later transitioned to a weekend and substitute weatherman, where he formed a lasting connection with anchor Dan Miller. In 1977, KNBC-TV in Los Angeles was searching for a weather reporter and discovered Sajak's exceptional talent in Nashville. He accepted KNBC's offer to become a full-time weather reporter for the station, marking the beginning of his successful television career. Well, the saying that a man's food is another's poison played out here, when a contract dispute opened the door for Sajak to propel himself to a new height. Let's find out the story behind this. Sajak on the Wheel. By the early 80s, Wheel of Fortune had performed fairly well in the ratings as a daytime program. Chuck Woolery, the show's original host and the one who had been emceeing it ever since it first aired in January 1975, was in the process of renewing his contract with Nick Griffin. According to the account, he assessed the level of success achieved by the program and came to the conclusion that he desired a larger portion of the cake. When Chuck Woolery was requested for a raise in compensation to $500,000, which he considered to be a reasonable amount in comparison to the salaries of other hosts at the time, he had other thoughts in his head. During an interview in 2007, Woolery would come forward to discuss the fact that Griffin, a businessman who adhered to rigid standards, also had other ideas of his own. The only amount that Griffin would agree to pay Woolery was $400,000, as he was unwilling to give in to his demands. Because NBC was unwilling to let Woolery go, they came to the conclusion that they needed to find a middle ground and give additional options in order to compensate for the wage gap. Griffin, who was upset by the proposition made by the network, threatened to take the show to CBS, which is a competitor of NBC. As a result, NBC retracted the offer that it had formally presented to Woolery. The result was that Woolery would no longer be a part of the show, and Wheel would require a new host. A person who was familiar with the character but was not famous enough to be considered for the show emerged as a new possibility. Griffin stated in 1988 to the New York Times Magazine that he was looking for a new MC at the time, and he was captivated to Sajak's on-air news antics. It was reported by the Washington Post that Griffin stated that he possessed a great deal of charm and that he was constantly performing practical jokes. There was a time when he appeared on the show to do the weather while wearing a bandage over his right eye. Next, the bandage was placed over the left eye after a brief pause. Pat never uttered a single thing. He simply continued to perform the weather. Griffin was captivated by Sajak's devotion, which has been the defining characteristic of his career. Griffin had his man, but the president of NBC, Fred Silverman, along with other executives, did not accept the offer of employment. They believed that Sajak was not a well-known enough figure, and they advised him to look for someone else. Griffin, who was unwilling to back down, threatened to take a break from producing episodes of the show unless Sajak's addition was considered and authorized. As a result of Silverman's frequent programming failures, he was fired and replaced with Brandon Tartikoff, which rendered the matter irrelevant. The opportunity was accepted by Sajak, who had previously hosted 2 game show pilots in 1980, Press Your Luck for Ralph Edwards and Puzzlers for Mark Goodson. Sajak had previously hosted both of these shows. The first episode that Sajak hosted was broadcast on December 28, 1981. After White had joined the cast in 1983, the production of the nightly syndicated version of Wheel, which is still being broadcast to this day, began broadcasting immediately. On the game program Wheel of Fortune, Sajak rose to prominence as a host. The assessment that Griffin made regarding Sajak's personality turned out to be a brilliant move. It is only logical that Sajak would have been under a lot of pressure to give the goods because Griffin had to dispute with both the president and executives of NBC in order to get Sajak on the wheel. This turned out to be a wheel of fortune for both Sajak and the show. However, Sajak delivered the goods. It goes without saying that Sajak became a well-known name. Furthermore, in 2011, he was honored with a Lifetime Achievement Award, in addition to being the recipient of 3 Daytime Emmy Awards for Outstanding Game Show Host nominations. Moreover, in the year 1994, he was honored with a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. It was officially acknowledged by Guinness World Records in 2019 that Sajak's wheel career was the longest for any game show host on the same program. In fact, it was even longer than the late-night game show presenter's career. Alex Trebek, the host, and Bob Barker, the icon of The Price is Right, all appeared. In that year, Sajak and White celebrated the completion of 7,000 episodes together, and the number of episodes they have produced together has continued to rise ever since. Sajak was so successful on the show that it has also become a family affair for Sajak, as his daughter Maggie now serves as Wheel's social correspondent. Sajak had a small role as a Buffalo, New York newscaster in the 1982 comedy film Airplane 2, the sequel. When his late-night talk show on CBS premiered in January 1989, Sajak left the daytime version of Wheel and was replaced by former San Diego Chargers place kicker Rolf Benishke, who was later replaced by Bob Gowan when the daytime show moved to CBS in July of that year. In the years between 1984 and 1989, Sajak had multiple appearances on Super Password. In 1981, he also made an appearance on Password Plus, which was shortly before he began his hosting responsibilities on Wheel. The Match Game, Hollywood Squares Hour, Dream House, and Just Men were some of the other game shows on which he featured as a celebrity guest. Between January 9, 1989 to April 13, 1990, Sajak was the host of a late-night chat program that aired on CBS for a brief period of time. Sajak's longtime friend and former anchor at WSM-TV in Nashville, Dan Miller, joined him as his sidekick. Sajak was working at the time. After some time, Sajak became a regular guest host on CNN's Larry King Live, filling in for King whenever he was unable to present the show himself. After Regis Philbin's departure from the syndicated version of Live with Regis and Kelly, Sajak became a regular substitute host for Philbin. In 2003, Sajak was also the host of the Pat Sajak Weekend program on Fox News. Beginning in 2002, Pat Sajak was the host of the Pat Sajak Baseball Hour, a weekly radio sports discussion show that was syndicated and aired until 2006. The show was cancelled in 2006, owing to scheduling difficulties. Eagle Publishing is a conservative publishing house, and Sajak serves as an external director for the company. He has the distinction of having served on the Claremont Institute's board of directors in the past. Sajak played the role of Kevin Hathaway in the daytime soap opera Days of Our Lives, which was broadcast on NBC in 1983. During the year 1994, Sajak had an appearance on the children's cartoon show Rugrats, Sajak's Other Ventures, playing the role of himself. In 1997, Sajak played a hoax on his audience on April Fool's Day by pretending to be a competitor on an episode of Wheel hosted by Alex Trebek. Vanna White was also a participant on the particular episode. The proceeds from the Sajak and White competitions were given to charitable organizations, specifically the American Cancer Society and the Boy Scouts of America in this particular instance. As a kind of compensation, Sajak took up hosting duties for Trebek on a normal edition of Jeopardy! Additionally, Sajak made an appearance at the opening of an episode that was celebrating April Fool's Day in 2010, alongside Jeff Probst and Neil Patrick Harris. On the television show The King of Queens, Sajak had a guest appearance as himself in the episode titled In a Tube in the year 2001. In 2010, Sajak started contributing to the online version of the National Review. Sajak posed the topic in his initial post as to whether or not public employees ought to be granted the right to vote on matters that would directly benefit them individually. Additionally, he has made contributions to the website Ricochet, which is a central-right Politico and social networking platform. Sajak is the creator of a number of puzzle games, the first and most well-known of which is Lucky Letters, which was released in 2007. Universal Euclid is the company that is responsible for the distribution of the games that Sajak and puzzle developer David L. Hoyt created together. As of the year 2019, Sajak serves as the chairperson of the Hillsdale College Board of Trustees. Over the course of 15 years, he served as vice chair. Hillsdale is a Christian institution that is not open to women. Sajak has made guest appearances on episodes of The Dan Labatard Show with Stugats, which airs on ESPN Radio, as well as on episodes of Highly Questionable, which is another show hosted by Labatard. Since the beginning of the 39th season of Wheel of Fortune, Sajak has been recognized as a consultant producer. This credit dates back to the year 2020. Starting from 2021, Sajak and Hoyt have hosted primetime celebrity Wheel of Fortune on ABC. In September 2021, it was announced that both Sajak and Hoyt had signed on to continue as hosts of Wheel of Fortune through the 2023-2024 season. In 2021, Sajak voiced a singing bust in a Muppets Haunted Mansion television special. At Disney's Candlelight Processional, Sajak has worked as a celebrity narrator on multiple occasions, with the most recent appearances being in the years 2017, 2018, 2019, and 2021. Sajak made the announcement on June 12, 2023, that he would be retiring from his role as host of Wheel of Fortune in 2024, following the conclusion of the show's 41st season. This would bring an end to a lengthy and famous career on the show. A few times during the course of the show, Sajak demonstrated that he was experiencing signs of exhaustion, which led to the speculation that he would be retiring before he made the announcement. The times there was a remark made by Pat Sajak on the broadcast. Pat Sajak was on the offensive and was as vicious as he had always been. One of the contestants was reprimanded by him for repeatedly providing erroneous answers to riddles. He asked the woman, "Why are you bothering herself?" It was during the very first triple toss-up of the evening that the participant, whose name was Debbie, made the mistake of doing all three problems incorrectly. This is when the event began. When Debbie was taking a nap, she called Sajak, but Sajak informed her that the response she had given was incorrect. After a few minutes had passed, another participant called out and hailed a taxi, which made the puzzle's solution possible. The second time Debbie and her granddaughter called in, they gave the incorrect response, claiming that it was catching a fish. This time, Debbie and her granddaughter appeared to be uncertain about the answer. In spite of this, Sajak once again declined to answer the question. Debbie and her granddaughter once again buzzed in during the third and final toss-up, but they were wrong this time. The fact that Sajak was furious was evident, and he let his annoyance to get the better of him. Before asking the other candidates to ring in with their responses, he questioned Debbie why she was bothering him in a tone that may be interpreted as a kind of reprimand. It was not the first time that the host, who is accustomed to receiving criticism on social media, has yelled at a player in a frustrated manner. Sajak once advised a participant who was a fan favorite, "Don't ever do it again," after the contestant, who was 22 years old at the time, snatched the envelope during the bonus round with the game show. Another time that Sajak was criticized by viewers was when he gave an impossible bonus puzzle to one of the contestants. As a result of the contestant Cesar Rediger's failure to provide an accurate response, which was a crucial aspect within the allotted time, the host was met with the ire of fans who assert that no one ever says that. Throughout the course of numerous episodes, the elderly presenter has engaged in a number of peculiar behaviors, including putting a contender in a chokehold, asserting that he conceals himself in the garden of letter Turner Vanna White, requesting that a contestant remove his shirt, and pulling on a participant's beard. Despite this snappy side, Pat Sajak is famously known to have quick, witty remarks when it comes to the beloved game show, The Final Turning of the Wheel. After announcing his retirement, a lot of audience who have been used to watching him anchor the show eagerly anticipated the event that draws the final curtain on a storied and catchy journey on the Wheel of Fortune, and no one was disappointed. Pat Sajak's final appearance as the host of Wheel of Fortune on Friday, June 7th, drew a staggering amount of views, marking the game show's highest viewership since April 2020. According to Variety, in an article published on June 18th, the beloved host's final show garnered a whopping 11 million views, and also earned the distinction of being the most watched telecast of the week across all broadcast and cable networks, excluding sports. With a household rating of 6.2, it topped the ratings chart for the week. All 5 of Sajak's final episodes also ranked among the top 15 broadcasts of the week, a huge achievement. Also, the Celebrity Wheel of Fortune reruns on ABC also experienced a viewership spike as the show's favorite host bid farewell. As the outlet reported, the June 7th episode attracted over 4 million viewers, making it the most watched non-sports broadcast on a summer Friday in 4 years. Sajak concluded his remarkable 41-season tenure with a heartfelt direct-to-camera message during his final episode. Reflecting on his time on the show, he expressed gratitude to viewers. "It's been an incredible privilege to be invited into millions of homes, night after night, year after year, decade after decade, and I've always felt that the privilege came with a responsibility to keep this daily half-hour a safe place for family, fun, no social issues, no politics. Nothing embarrassing, I hope, just a game," Sajak said. As Pat Sajak reflected on his experience, he noted that the show had evolved into something much more profound. It had become a platform where children learned the fundamentals of reading, where individuals from diverse backgrounds refined their English language skills, and where families, friends, and neighbors across multiple generations came together. He felt deeply humbled to have played a role, no matter how small, in this phenomenon. With sincerity, he expressed his gratitude to the audience for embracing him and allowing him to be a part of their lives. Sajak didn't stop there. During this final episode, he also expressed heartfelt gratitude towards his co-host, Vanna White. He acknowledged her as his professional counterpart, noting that she, like him, approaches the show with dedication and seriousness, yet maintains a humble and down-to-earth demeanor. Sajak shuddered at the thought of how different the past 40-plus years might have been if a self-absorbed individual had been cast alongside him. He praised Vanna for being as kind and unassuming as she appears, and thanked her for her touching farewell message during the previous episode. Vanna White's emotional tribute to Sajak during his penultimate episode, which aired on June 6th, highlighted their enduring friendship and professional partnership. She credited Sajak for making her feel comfortable and confident when she first started on the show. Over the years, they had not only grown up on television, but had also shared numerous experiences, milestones, and life events behind the scenes with their families. Vanna cherished these off-camera memories, milestones, and life events shared with their families outside the studio, considering them her favorite. This led to speculations on who was going to take up the mantle from Sajak, replacing Sajak. The longtime host reflected on what he said was the best part of the last couple of years, working alongside his daughter Maggie Sajak, the game show's social correspondent. He noted his appreciation for the chance to watch his daughter grow in her role and as a person. He also noted that Maggie is liked around the place, not just because she's talented and smart and funny, but because she's also kind and caring and humble. In a recent sit-down interview with his daughter Sajak, said he'd had time to sort of get used to his departure and that it's been a little bit wistful and all that, but he's enjoying it and taking it all in and reflecting on the great run. His high praise for his daughter and her familiarity with the role has predictably brought suggestions that she's Sajak's natural heir on the Wheel of Fortune. Although it's a fancy thought, other names have also been linked, and one of the most obvious answer for Sajak's replacement as host is Vanna White, who's turned letters alongside Sajak's wisecracks since 1982. When Sajak underwent emergency intestinal surgery to remove a blockage on November 8, 2019, and was out on medical leave, White hosted the show with Sajak's Maggie, turning letters in her stead. White previously spoke of how she keeps the show feeling fresh after 4 decades. She said she has a different dress on, just like how the show has different puzzles. So she treats every show like it is brand new, and it's so much fun here that way. Well, if White wants to keep turning letters, it's possible would make an incredible duo with Maggie. Maggie has been creating and starring in a slew of social media content for Wheel of Fortune, and the 28-year-old already has a rapport with White, who praised her on-air skills. Other names mentioned, Pat Sajak shocked the world when he announced that next season will be his final turn hosting Wheel of Fortune. The beloved host has been a TV fixture for more than 4 decades, leaving audiences wondering who could possibly fill shoes that large. Well, have some ideas. While he didn't necessarily get the fairest shake when he guest-hosted Jeopardy! In July 2021, LeVar Burton may have a chance at redemption as host of Wheel of Fortune if he wants it. He previously said of working in unscripted TV, "We're trying to figure out what the right game show for LeVar Burton would be." Another name on the lips is Tom Bergeron. Tom Bergeron and Dancing with the Stars parted ways in 2019, a decision he previously said was political. If he and ABC still have a good relationship following his ouster, he may well be a great fit for Wheel of Fortune. This next name might surprise you, but if you have ever had the joy of watching Snoop Dogg participate in Celebrity Wheel of Fortune, you'd know how badly the world needs this to happen. Mark McGrath has also gained recognition. The Sugar Ray frontman has experience hosting Extra as well as game show experience. He's actually a 3-time champion of Rock and Roll Jeopardy! Which also needs to make a comeback. How about Wayne Brady? Wayne Brady is a game show veteran, with Let's Make a Deal and Don't Forget the Lyrics under his belt. We already know he's a genius at improv thanks to his work on Whose Line Is It Anyway? So the contestant banter is sure to be a hoot as well. He also has a relationship with ABC since appearing on Dancing with the Stars Season 31, so he could be a shoo-in if he wants the gig. Glee alum Jane Lynch is hilarious and charismatic, and she's hosted The Weakest Link without being nearly as mean as her predecessor, nor her iconic character of Sue Sylvester. Who wouldn't want to watch more of her, especially now that The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel is over? Craig Ferguson is another famous name. The beloved Scottish comedian has been sorely missed from late-night TV. Craig Ferguson is funny, charming, and clean, making him a great fit for primetime. Well, someone already won the race. Guess who did? Let's find out. Sajak's replacement. No one will be able to host Wheel of Fortune quite like Pat Sajak, but one entertainment veteran is going to give it his best shot. Ryan Seacrest, who was just 7 years old when Sajak began hosting the long-running word game show in 1981, will replace Sajak after 41 seasons. Seacrest is set to take the car keys from Sajak in September. "I'm truly humbled to be stepping into the footsteps of the legendary Pat Sajak," Seacrest said in a statement at the time. "I can say, along with the rest of America, that it's been a privilege and pure joy to watch Pat and Vanna on our television screens for an unprecedented 40 years, making us smile every night and feel right at home with them." Seacrest calls the return to game show, hosting a full circle moment, writing that he got his start on Click, a game show hosted by Merv Griffin in 1997. In 2023, Seacrest expressed his eagerness to continue the tradition of spinning the wheel and working alongside the great Vanna White. Seacrest has been in show business for decades, working as an on-camera host for a number of programs, including Live with Kelly and Ryan, Dick Clark's New Year's Rockin' Eve with Ryan Seacrest, and American Idol. He has also hosted a number of events ranging from Oscars red carpets to Olympic Games since the late 1990s. Seacrest told Variety in April that he was working on studying the rulebook and all of the scenarios that the rulebook has inside of it to prepare for his gig. Okay, let's move away from Pat Sajak's on-screen life, Sajak's life away from the wheel. Sajak's life away from the Wheel of Fortune has been as intriguing as it is on the show. Sajak is married to Leslie Brown Sajak, a photographer with whom he has 2 children, a son, Patrick Michael James Sajak, who was born on September 22, 1990. Michael steered clear of the TV life as he's now a doctor, having earned his medical degree in 2021, and a daughter, Maggie Marie Sajak, who was born January 5, 1995, who is a social correspondent on Wheel of Fortune. They live in Severna Park, Maryland, with a second home in Los Angeles. Sajak is featured as a narrator in a brief film shown at the Visitors Center at Mount Vernon, the residence of George Washington, where he explains to tourists the attractions of the site. From the year 1998 to the year 2021, Sajak was the owner of the AM radio station WNAV in Annapolis, which was situated in Maryland. Sajak is a member of the Republican Party and has contributed a number of essays to the publication Human Events, which is more conservative. In addition to that, he is a frequent contributor to the conservative blog Ricochet.com, where he regularly participates in podcasts, the scientific consensus on climate change is something that Sajak disagrees with. The Young America's Foundation, which is responsible for sponsoring conservative speakers on college campuses, is another organization that he is a supporter of. However, despite the fact that Sajak has worked as a political commentator outside of Wheel of Fortune, he stated in his final appearance as the host of the game show that he did not incorporate politics into his hosting duties. He stated that the show did not involve any social issues, politics, and that it was just a game. In 2005, Sajak further solidified his riches by becoming an investor in the Golden Baseball League, which is an independent professional baseball league that includes teams from the states of California, Arizona, Nevada, Utah, Alberta, British Columbia, and Baja California. During a special appearance in the broadcast booth for a spring training game between the Baltimore Orioles and the Boston Red Sox in March 2012, Sajak admitted that he has previously called a few baseball games. Additionally, he is a devoted supporter of the National Hockey League franchise known as the Washington Capitals. He has been a season ticket holder for a very long time and made an appearance directly on the ice before to the third game of the 2018 Stanley Cup Finals. Pat Sajak is one of the game show hosts who has been around the longest and has had the most success throughout the history of the field, and he has a big pocketbook to show for it. It has been estimated that he has accumulated a net worth of $75 million. The host gets more money from licensing his image to Wheel of Fortune slot machines throughout the world than he does from the compensation he receives from his presenting role, which brings around $14 million annually. As a result of licensing his image to around 20,000 Wheel of Fortune slot machines in casinos all over the world since 1996, Sajak has been able to earn at least $15 million a year from royalties, licensing fees, and other payments related to the licensing of his photograph. It is a credit to Pat Sajak's talents and long impact that the composition of a daily hour of television that defines the days of millions of Americans will vary once more as a result of his final appearance as the host of Wheel of Fortune. You are appreciated for watching, liking, commenting, and subscribing. You may also check out another video that is intriguing by clicking on the video that is currently displayed on your screen. See you on the